Hello everybody, Colors here. Welcome to a Final Fantasy 13 challenge run, where I trap myself in Chapter 11 and see how much content I complete. For whatever reason, Final Fantasy 13 has been a game that I cherish, despite all of its flaws. And one of those arguable flaws is the crystallarium system. It's basically a bad sphere grid from Final Fantasy X, and in Chapter 11, you only unlock Stage 9, which means my characters will be seriously undeveloped in all of their roles. So let's just dive right in. The first bit of the game is just a speedrun. We want to get to Seathstone missions in Chapter 10 basically as fast as possible. Every Gil and CP farm will pale in comparison to what we can do later, so basically just get there as fast as you can. As far as I know, even though I'm collecting some items in the background here, there are no actual items that you need that you can't just buy later, so just power through. Alright, now that we're in Chapter 10, let's talk team composition. Later on, we're only going to have access to role level 2 for our off rolls. Because of this, Fang is the only one with access to Phaethra and Brevera, so she is required. I think Vanille is also a good choice because Fang and her both get access to Protectra and Shelra, and the third person I think you can just use whoever you want. Earlier on, I'm using Saz here because he has haste, but then I swapped to Lightning because her base strength and magic stats are just higher. It's a good idea to establish who you want to use now, since you can start to upgrade their weapons as soon as you get them. In this particular run, I really didn't bother to upgrade anything until after the first run through Faultwarrens, but you could upgrade their base weapons to level 2, or if you picked up any weapons or wanted to upgrade them, this would be a good place to do that. Okay, now that we can do missions, we're just going to slam through them in order to get to story progression. Missions 1, 2, and 3 are a piece of cake, even at this level, and Mission 4 is pretty easy if you slide around these guys on the left and get the guaranteed preemptive strike. Then just focus the vertilets and it's an easy win. Everything up to Mission 7 really isn't worth talking about, but Mission 7 is a little interesting because you can farm out the Tatadric tiaras and crowns here, which can be upgraded and then dismantled for auto-haste gear if you want. But keep in mind, we're getting access to Chocobos soon, and I believe that this will give you a tiara and a crown for just walking around the steps and collecting the random stuff that it finds. At Mission 10, we get close to the really famous CP farming spot. There's a Megistotherian and a Behemoth King that you can guarantee a preemptive strike on. So we'll be killing these every time we're near here just to help with progression from all the skipping we did in the first 9 chapters. Mission 10 itself should be easy provided you are patient and get the preemptive strike. Then you could basically just juggle this guy until he dies. It's really satisfying to watch Fang relaunch this guy. Mission 11 is really our first boss, but it actually isn't that big of a deal. Just make sure you're buffed up, and if you have upgraded weapons at this point, it should be a cakewalk. Now we can unlock Chocobos. These first set of guys you have to kill to get the Chocobos can be pretty difficult, so I recommend just using a summon and then cleaning up house. At this point, there's this one goblin mission, I think 2 missions afterwards, that can be a bit of a challenge. At this stage, I had to have Fang and Sentinel, and even then a buffed up Goblin Punch can one-shot, so if you have any Shrouds or someone available, this is another good chance to use them. All of the missions are now on the way to Taejin Tower and in the tower itself. None of these missions are really anything to talk about in terms of difficulty. Mission 26, I think, is the one with Mushu, which is the best CP and Gil farm that we can do at this stage in the game, but you have to wait until the tower is done to do it. In the meantime, there's this really nice farm that I like to do with these 5 Pulse Work Guardians. If you're patient, you can get a preemptive strike with them if you're super weak and then clean them up, and then run up the stairs and come back down to reset them. It's 8,000 CP per run, but it takes longer to do a run than it is to complete Mission 26, and it doesn't provide a lot of Gil, so it's better to just wait and do the Mission 26 Gil farm if you plan on doing that. Once you complete the tower, slap on some lightning resist and then just slap Mithridates out of the air. At this point, since we're doing all of the missions, you should be powerful enough to take them out no problem, especially if you've upgraded your weapons. This is the part of the run where I did some Gil farming on Mission 26. I was debating upgrading my weapons, but instead just opted to upgrade some accessories. I think this would be a good point though if you wanted to upgrade your weapons to Tier 2 and maybe some accessories to Tier 3, if you haven't already done so. You should also have 3x Auto Haste and Auto Faith or Bravery accessories to make your farming super fast. This also means Saz, for me, isn't required anymore, so use whatever team you land on. For me, it's going to be Fang, Vanille, and Lightning. Now, our journey takes us to Oerba, where we get an easy mission, and then we get to slap Barthandelus over the head. Once we do that, we get our last crystallarium expansion, and the fun begins. Instead of taking the airship and returning to Cocoon, we get to turn around and walk everywhere. On your way out, talk to Bacti and collect the free 600k Gil you got for walking around and doing the missions earlier. This Gil, and all Gil from here on out, should be put towards upgrading Fang's weapon, and then whoever else you want. Fang is really the big damage dealer of the group, so getting her strength stat as high as possible is the goal. This is part of the reason why I haven't upgraded any of her weapons yet, since I'm rushing to mission 46 to unlock a Gilgamesh incorporated in the shop, which gives me access to her strongest strength weapon. I'm not sure if that bit is necessary, and upgrading her default base weapon to tier 2 is cheap enough, where it's not a big deal if you decide to do that and then change your mind later. Okay, back to missions. There's a Juggernaut, which hits hard but isn't too bad. A mini-boss, which might take a couple of tries, but with good CP levels and upgraded weapons should prove to be pretty easy. Amam and the next group of dudes and the Tomberry are all super easy at this point as well. And finally, we get a mission to kill an Adamantoise. Killing these is an okay Gil farm with the gold nuggets they drop, but we're almost strong enough to be farming Adamantortoises, so I wouldn't really waste time farming Gil on these. While the easy Faultwarrens mobs are being killed in the background, I think this is the point in time where you should just jump ahead to mission 55. Since we've unlocked the Faultwarrens, we've unlocked mission 55 all the way back to Oerba, and you should probably just do that so that way you can get the growth egg. I was hoping that the Neo Ochus would be killable, but the Screech just does so much damage that I don't think it's reasonable to do anything but a death trick on them. So that's what I do on mission 45, and also for that mission later. The CP gains early are going to speed up everything later, so taking the walk back to Oerba now is definitely worth it. Okay, mission 46 is the first Zenertra. These guys suck, and at the level I'm at, if Fang has a D-Protect on her and he uses Feeding Stoop, she dies. The only way she doesn't die is if she's using Steel Guard and has almost full HP when it's cast. Because of this fight is a really slow grind of making sure that Fang doesn't get one shot by keeping her dispelled and healed up, while also growing and keeping the chain gauge. I use Shrouds to make sure this is doable at this level as well, and after some patience I'm finally able to get the kill. With that, all of the weapon vendors from the shop are unlocked, and I went back and did a bit of Gil and CP farming. With the Gil infusion from Bacti, my goal here, if you didn't do it earlier, is maxed out tier 2 weapons. If you are just interested in the CP farm, there's a really nice spot right off of Atmos on the way to pick up mission 53 that has 6 cold bombs you can kill with a Quake or a Blitz or 2. If you have a speed sash on to restore TP on kill, I think you can just Quake spam and then walk back to the tunnel here and reset them. It's actually super fast if you don't need the Gil, but don't have your main rolls maxed out and one off roll almost maxed out, which will be synergist for Fang. We want to start farming Adamantortoises now, and we'll need Fang's Haste, Phaethra, and Bravera. So first, there are 2 different Adamantortoises. There's this one facing backwards in the canyon that doesn't have these big chains on its back. That actually has less HP than the other ones. This is the one to start killing first. We start out by casting Haste on Fang and then waiting for a Stomp to come, or just summoning right after that. This will knock it down and we can start debuffing and prioritizing slow with Fang. Then, we finish debuffing and use Mega Flare on Bahamut. With the crew back in, we buff up everyone with Haste and then Phaethra or Bravera, and then we start building the chain gauge, and then kill it. Without a Genji glove, High Wind won't go above the 100k damage cap, so there's really not much to do here other than auto-battle your way to victory. If you can't auto-battle your way to victory, then your stats aren't high enough and you need to focus on accessories or upgrading gear to make your strength higher on Fang, or your magic stats higher on your other 2 characters. At this point, we don't have the defensives to tank the Adamantortoises quite yet, which means we're stuck with summon tricking this guy until we get the Genji gloves. So what I like to do is reset if we don't get a Platinum Ingot or trap a Zahedron. If I do, then I make sure we have a Speed Sash equipped and run north to the group of Tigers and Goblins. Basically, you just kill these 2 groups, and if you don't have enough, you touch this little sphere and then run back to the Goblin group until you have enough TP. Then, you can run back to the Adamantortoise and rinse and repeat. It's about a 6 or 7 minute process all in all. I recommend doing this until you have 3.5 million Gil or 1.5 million Gil and a Trapezohedron, and upgrade Fang's weapons to max. I upgraded Lightning's weapon first in this run, and while it wasn't a deal breaker, it definitely made my life more difficult after the Faultwarrens. Speaking of which, we are back at the Faultwarrens. Everything in here should be a complete doozy at this point. Use whatever accessories you need to make things easy, like magic reduction against the caster guy and auto accessories for the little guys. Everything else in here is a joke other than the Neo Ochu, which you should just death trick when you get to it. Once you've taken the stupidly long amount of time to run through all these missions, we finally get to our little Genji glove having friend Atticus. This guy's a bit of a pain. He attacks faster and hits harder the more damage you do to him, and he's really hard to stagger. Now if you're super weak, it might be possible to stagger him before he hits 50% HP, but I'm not 100% sure, and you'll have to have enough damage after the fact to kill him. So this strategy is just straightforward stuff. We stay buffed, debuff him, and try to raise the chain gauge as much as we can while staying topped off on HP. At 80%, he gets a bit stronger, and he gets an ability called Concentrate, which does moderate damage and removes buffs, so we need to make sure that we're constantly rebuffing and healing up. At 50% HP, not only is his chain gauge almost full, so he's taking a ton more damage, but he also starts attacking considerably faster and upgrades Concentrate to a higher hitting Meditate ability. Whoever gets targeted by this dies if they aren't in Sentinel. So, if you have your CP grid maxed out at this point, it would be a good idea to switch to Triple Sen. Personally, I just use Fang as a Sentinel to make sure that I wouldn't die and lose the battle, and let Vanille or Lightning res each other if one of them has died. Phoenix Downs are great to use here too if your third character doesn't have raise, and there's no shame in using some TP on Renew to res other people either. It might take a couple tries, but just make sure you don't die, and you should be able to get the kill. Now that we have the Genji glove, our Adamantortoise farming can really take off. First, we want to make sure that we upgrade the 2 clay rings and the 1 siltstone ring we got from missions earlier to the highest level galleon ring for earth protection. With these on all of our characters and Genji glove on Fang, even if you don't have a maxed out Kane's Lance on Fang, you should be able to start killing the weaker Adamantortoises in the canyon. We want to buff up and then use Tri Disaster to weaken the legs. Then I swapped to Diversity, make sure Fang has high HP, and then use High Wind to finish off the leg. With Genji Glove and Bravera, you should just need to stagger it in order for High Wind to do enough damage to kill it. If not, just sit and Tri Disaster for a little bit longer or get a D-Protect off to make sure that it dies. Do the same for the other leg, and the Adamantortoise should be downed. Luckily, haste should still be up on all of our characters, so switch to triple sab or double sab and have the third character doing whatever, and debuff up the Adamantortoise. You want to manually select slow and curse with Fang here while allowing Vanille to get the rest of the debuffs up. Then, switch to your synergist setup and have a refresh on haste and a damage buff on everyone, or at least Fang if you find your timings to be tight, and then start doing damage like crazy. I get the chain gauge to about 700% and then switch to Relentless Assault to let Fang do damage while Lightning and Vanille continue to build the chain gauge up. At this point, High Wind should be doing well over 1 million damage, so when it gets to about 25% HP, go ahead and cast it to finish it off. From here, we can actually kill the Adamanchetes and the Cactuar on Little Ledge to restore our TP to 3, and then summon trick the tougher Adamantortoise with the 4 tigers on it. This is our fastest CP and Gil farm, and you want to do this until you have all of your weapons maxed out. If you also don't have your Cursarium grid maxed out, then you should be doing this, but I would be surprised if you have your weapons maxed out and not your Cursarium by the time you're done with this. Okay, with our characters maxed out, it's time for the final stretch of missions. We get to meet our friend the Zernitra again, except this time I'm determined to defeat it without the use of Shrouds. The same annoying bits apply about getting one shot, but we are far stronger now, and once the chain gauge is full, we get to make quick work of the rest of its HP without really doing much else. Next up, the Neo Ochu. Yes, I waited this long to kill it, and I know you have to death trick it to win, so that's what we do. Make sure you apply Imperil, as death has a 1% higher chance to occur per debuff applied, so that basically doubles its chance of success. Once the Neo Ochu is dead, just finish off the little guys however you like. There's another Zernitra mission. I'm just going to use a Deceptive Shroud on this one, because I can't be really bothered to do anything else. Oh boy, next up is the Gigantuar. This guy is frustrating. As far as I know, the way that I'm doing it is the actual only way to complete this mission. First, we have to use Saz, and we equip him with 3 accessories to give him random instant chain. We also give him his weapons, the Pro Scions, I think they're called, that extend the duration of staggers. We need a Sentinel and a Healer, and they both have to have above 10,000 HP. I'm using Fang with an HP accessory, and Vanille with 2 HP accessories because their weapons are upgraded and their damage matters. Now, Gigantuar will use 10,000 Needles, which does 10k damage and applies Fog and Pain. If you want Fog and Pain resistance accessories on Fang and Vanille, they will occasionally help out. Pain resistance on Fang, Fog resistance on Vanille. The only way to reduce the 10,000 needle damage is if a Sentinel is using a damage reduction ability like Metaguard, so the strategy is to get a run where Fang or Vanille are hit with the first 10,000 needles, then we spam Cold Blood with Saz, which has an increased chance to get a random stagger, and then we pray. We need the taunt from Fang to land early on, because otherwise Gigantuar will do too much damage on Saz and Vanille, and we won't be able to stay alive long enough. The 10,000 needles attack happens quicker the longer the fight goes on, so we need the stagger from Saz to occur relatively early in the fight, Otherwise, even if we get it staggered, we won't be able to kill it. Once we finally get a run where he gets staggered, we're going to use a cast of Renew, so that way everybody is above 10,000 HP. This will allow us to survive one hit of 10,000 needles while we swap to the aggression paradigm. Then we just have to hope that Fang doesn't get hit twice, and obviously Saz doesn't get hit twice, and we should have enough damage to get through the 1 million HP or so before dying. I think I reset this for a few hours, and then I finally got this run. Okay, we're on the final set of missions. The earlier missions of this trial are super easy and are more or less just repeats of missions we've already done, so there really isn't much to talk about until mission 61. Not because it's hard, but because on the way back, make sure to pick up mission 63 and kill the Adamantortoise so you don't have to do the half an hour round trip of walking later. I've done a lot of walking in this playthrough. Okay, so mission 62. Big disclaimer here. If you haven't completed your Gil farming, you need to complete it now. After this, the Adamant Shelids and Adamantortoises will be replaced with Shaolong Guis and Long Guis. For reference, at this point I have a 500,000 GP in the bank, maxed out weapons on Fang and Lightning, and a level 67 weapon on Vanille. I also have some tier 3 accessories that I didn't bother buying Dark Matters for since defensive bonuses are important, and more important than the offensive ones. I recommend getting 9 magic and 9 physical accessories completely maxed out, as this will make the next few challenges much easier. Okay, so equip as much magic resistance as you can in your characters, and let's start. We've already killed one of these guys before, but now we have 2. Since they randomly target your characters with a triple cast of a random magic spell, there's a lot of RNG involved, especially since your characters will tend to bunch up and can get AoE knocked up into the air all at the same time. It's really annoying, but make sure you have enough TP for some renews and use them if it gets sketchy. From there, it's normal stuff. You want to keep haste and Shelra up on your characters at all times. Imperil is nice to get off as it makes the chain gauge fill up a bit faster, and other than that, it's just a long grind. You're likely not going to be able to kill one in a single stagger, even with Bravera and a D-Protect, since both of them will use multicast Dispel when a shield breaks. So just make sure you focus on staying alive and slowly grind the first one down. Once the damage output has been cut in half, it's a lot less risky of a fight, and we've already done it before, so just do it again. Strategy is the same, we just get a lot more time to deal damage instead of not dying. So, now we find ourselves in Oerba again, picking up the final mission. When I first started this video idea, I didn't think the next 3 enemies would be possible to kill, and I was certain I would end the video describing why, but let's just give them an honest chance. First up, the Shaolong Gui. We need as much defensives packed in as possible. Earth resistance is required, magic resistance is useful versus Ultima, and physical resistance is useful versus the Stomps and Bay. Our paradigms are set up for triple everything. We start out the fight buffing up as normal, but we want to make sure we use a lever scope so the AI will focus on Protectra and Shelra. During this time, and throughout the fight in general, Stomps will go out and we want to swap to Tortoise to reduce the damage and heal up afterward. When we are buffed and aren't healing or protecting, debuff and build chain gauge. Once staggered, deals damage once you get to 999% on the chain gauge. This guy tends to cast Bay a lot. Comes out very quickly and you need quick reflexes in order to swap to Tortoise in time. Additionally, it has a chance to stop your characters, so if you get stopped you need to cast Renew in order to top people off while you wait for a stomp. There is a bit of RNG involved here in the event that more than 2 bays go off and you can't heal up after the fact with Renew. This is a long fight. The Shaolong Gui has something like 12 million HP, which is nothing to scoff at. There might be some other strategies to defeat it that revolve around using Daze from Fang in order to stop it from doing any damage at all, and let poison damage tick down or something, but I didn't really explore that. Instead we just take a straight up approach of staying buffed and healed while keeping it debuffed and doing damage when we can. Eventually, should be able to get the kill. Second up is the Long Gui. These guys replaced all of the Adamantortoises, and there is no weak version of these guys, so pick whichever one's your favorite. Right off the bat, this guy uses Ultima. With no Shelra up, this will nuke and kill everybody. Usually, you'll have to use a Renew here, but I got lucky and Lightning survived the attack, so I'm able to heal up and pop a lever scope so the AI knows what to do. We need to stay buffed here. Without Protect, we can only survive one stop, unless you happen to be under the foot and get an unlucky double hit, in which case you'll just die. So, having buffs up is the priority. If Bay comes out, we die. It does something like 24,000 physical damage after a reduction from General's belts I have on. So even in Tortoise, you'll die. You need to apply slow to the Long Gui to give you enough time to stagger and kill the legs, while staying full on HP and reacting to Ultima if it gets cast. I also like to use this time to get an Imperil and D-Protect off on the legs. If you don't get a D-Protect off, you need to get the legs to 999% chain gauge before casting High Wind. Otherwise, if Fang is high HP and they are above 750% change, you can go ahead and use a High Wind to kill the leg. Once it's down, it's the same as Adamantortoises. Slow and curse it with Fang. Lightning will poison it, and Vanille will get the rest of the debuffs up. Switch into buffing, get your buffs out, switch to Try Disaster and get the chain gauge up, and then switch to Cerberus and do as much damage as possible. You'll see here that the extra Genji gloves we got from previous missions are useless, as Fang, who's going to be hitting the hardest, is only hitting for about 60k damage or so at max chain gauge. You should be able to get it just below 50% before it stands back up again. Now the Long Gui will cast Roar, which is super hard and comes out quick, so you need to have the reflexes to swap to Tortoise in time, otherwise it's a wipe. Now I was trying to do some runs without a summon, because for some reason I thought the summon trick wouldn't work on these guys, but while I was buffing up, I got a Roar followed quickly by an Ultima cast, which would have killed me, so I quickly used a summon to dodge the damage. But it turns out that you can summon trick these guys, which means once you've buffed up after the first knockdown, you can go ahead and summon trick to knock this guy down again. Then, it's the same thing that we've done before. I didn't kill it with High Wind since I wasn't sure how much damage it would do, but eventually it goes down. And there we go. These guys are much more reasonable to kill and are actually kind of farmable at C9, provided you get the summon TP, which I was really surprised to see. And finally, we are at the final challenge, Mission 64. It's been more than a 40-hour journey in this save to get this far, and I think an unscripted commentary is in order. I reset this guy for over 6 hours and nearly lost the footage, but I was able to trim it and save it as MP4 files, so if the quality is lower, that's why. Alright, let's do this. Alright, Mission 64. Let's dive in. First off, we want to go ahead and pop our Shrouds going in. It is definitely not mandatory because he doesn't really do a lot of damage out at the start, but it just makes it easier to keep your HP at stable levels, and if he happens to get to like 80% HP pretty quickly, then that will allow you to basically just make sure that you have enough HP to handle him later. Now, this guy really doesn't do too much at the start, so what we'll do is just be going over strategy. The strategy is basically to let poison do all the damage. This guy has just under 16 million HP, and he has this thing called Impenetrable Aura, which what it does is will heal for a percentage of damage that he takes between the last Impenetrable Aura, or in this case from the start of the fight. Or maybe it's his missing HP. It's probably his missing HP. But anyway, you can't hit him with anything. So make sure you use a Libra scope so that way the AI knows what to do. And then right when he pops out, you want to be in triple sap. The goal here is that we're running with Vanille and Lightning because they're two people that have poison. And poison is doing all the damage, and we want more than one character applying poison. So we get debuffs up, and then once poison is out, we basically just want to stay alive. That's it. We just stay alive to the next set of wings. So we can see here he had 80% HP and he grew another set of wings. When he gets the second set of wings, he gets another attack, which is like really annoying, which I'll talk about in a second. Now there is an option during these first couple phases to stagger him. You can do it with triple disaster and imperil on him, but it's not really necessary, and you're not going to be able to nuke him and kill him at it anyway, so it's just kind of like free damage if you want it. So he gets this new ability. Oh, he gets an ability called Wind Shear that he has that the whole time. Wind Shear hurts. It's like a wind attack, and it's also magical. And we have triple physical resistance accessories on all of our characters. Actually, I think Vanille has one weirding glyph on for extra magic stats. That way poison buff lasts longer, and I'll explain why in a second. But you need the physical resistance, which means you can't do the magic resistance, and it sucks because like that attack can hit multiple people if they're bunched up, and it also dispels. It's really frustrating to deal with, and it's almost like RNG involved on like whether or not like your characters are bunched or if they get like spaced out, and you want them to be as spaced out as possible, but like you can't control it. Like if they're like all medics, they'll just like start walking right next to the boss. It's really annoying. You can see here he pops out, Fang dispels immediately, I apply poison with Vanille, and then we just go to healing. And that's pretty much, yeah, this Putrescence ability is really annoying. You can see it hit Vanille and Lightning there, and they both got dispelled. And it's like we have to heal, but then we also have to buff to make sure we don't die. And it's just frustrating in general, because it would be way easier if all the characters were super spaced out, and then that ability only hit one person. But, as it is, we have to sort of just deal with the way the game is. So we're just making sure that we're keeping our HP relatively healthy and staying buffed. Since poison's up, we don't really have to do anything else. If you did get Champion's Belts, it's going to make this a lot easier, and you might actually be able to run like 2 Champion's Belts and then like a maxed out Magic Resistance accessory, and that might actually make this fight super easy for you. I did not do that, and I kind of regret it. So I'm doing this. I'm doing this with like worse accessories than you probably should. So keep that in mind if you followed my advice earlier of maxing out defensive accessories before getting here and like screwing over your ability to Gil farm. Then it's just going to be easier for you than what you're seeing here. So we're letting poison just sort of take him down. The idea is to get him low enough so that way you can use a summon, and you basically just like let your Eidolon like tank some damage, and you get like the Gestalt gauge up while poison is ticking, and like you're just like spamming more damage on it. And you can actually spam poison so that way the debuff lasts longer too. And then you press X and go into the Gestalt mode. And then you just, because he can't use Impenetrable Aura when that happens, you just let the poison kill him. So that's sort of what we're doing. We're just weakening him down to get to there. So we can see he grew another set of wings while I was talking about the summon. And he gets a new ability, I think it's called like Whirling Death or something. We'll see it in a second here. But you have to be max HP for it and switch to Tortoise. And it like comes out at a random time. So it's like really hard to like Wicked Whirl. So this is why you need full physical resistance accessories. Is I have like double or triple physical resistance, and people just get nuked down to almost nothing. And then he does another attack right after. You see he used Putrescence after the fact as well. So you have to sit in Tortoise for that and the next ability, and then you have to heal up and hope that he doesn't kill you in between. So that's the strategy, and it's a lot of just making sure that people don't die. At one point, I replaced Lightning with Snow because Lightning had a problem where she would just die, and Fang and Vanille wouldn't. But eventually I switched back to her anyway because I wanted the poison application from her as well. My plan was to have her and Vanille apply poison, and then hopefully with the effect that they have, where instead of like replacing the debuff, it extends it, that I would be able to kill it with the summon. Because before I was summoning at like 5.5 million HP on this guy, and the poison debuff would run out at like 1.5 million HP. So the idea was to get him, oh my god, it hurts. And you can see Lightning is so low, and then Putrescence just kills her. It's very frustrating. Luckily, we can recover from this with arrays and cures, although you're probably better off using a Phoenix Down, to be honest with you. But for whatever reason, I'm like very anti-Phoenix Downs. I don't know why. I like forgot that they exist when I was playing this game, or when I was doing this playthrough. You see me checking his HP there, it's about 6.2 million. And around this time, if you can get a summon off, you want to get a summon off, but you want to do it right after he does Impenetrable Aura. So you want to apply poison and then get a summon off. But you also want to make sure that he doesn't use Wicked Whirl, because if Wicked Whirl kills you, then then your summon will just get will just fade away and you won't be able to do anything. So you can see me checking there, 5.1 million. This is the sweet spot. I want to get him like a little bit lower, and then I want to pop a summon, hopefully get a double poison debuff off, and then I should be able to just get the ticks from poison to kill him while I'm sitting there. It's a very anticlimactic way to kill him, but it should work, right? We get the triple disc buff off. Wicked Roll happens right away. So this is perfect. We should summon right here. Oh, I was going to summon right here, but I didn't. I want him down to lower than 4.5 million HP because I know that is how long. I did some math basically on how long the buffs last. It's a combination of the duration of like the chain gauge multiplier, the and the magic stat of your character basically. So boom, he uses impenetrable aura. Good thing I didn't summon there because that would not have worked. And he gets his last set of wings. This last set of wings is super spooky because he does more damage faster. So it's a very scary phase to be in. I want to be summoning as soon as I can here. Buffs going out, Dispel, Poison, Wicked Roll right away. We got a Tortoise swap pretty early on. 1 HP on Vanille. Physical Wall keeps me alive from falling down. Another reason to have the General's Belts. And we're able to get Lightning up, but instead of doing that, I figure I'm just going to go ahead and summon, switch, and poison it, but I actually die and get hit with an Arise. So my strategy is sort of out of the window. Yep. I say sort of because, well, as you can see, he still has a poison on him, so we're not technically dead yet. So the name of the game is live. Just live. He's got under 4 million HP left. So if we can stay alive, we're fine. Right now we're healthy, so we're getting haste and protect out. He uses his AoE wind attack, so we're just topping people off. Luckily we have haste, so we're able to cast this faster, and he's hitting Vanille, which is really annoying because she's the only one with Kiraja, which heals for just so much if people are low. Getting haste off again, and we have a bit of a second here, so we're getting more buffs off while we can. 2.3 million HP is getting there. Wicked Roll goes off. People are still kind of low, to be honest with you, but Fang lives with 1 HP. Thank God for that effect that she has on her when she's a Sentinel. And then he goes directly into Impenetrable Aura. Thank goodness. Now we're able to heal up. Putrescence is like constantly debuffing us, which is like really annoying, but we still need to have Protectra up to make sure that we don't die, and preferably Shell Rush so that way Putrescence does less damage. If you can get other debuffs up, that's good too. A little late on the Saboteur swap here, but we can see he's focusing Fang, and he's just using normal attacks. Look how far he's pushed her into Narnia. This is like perfect for us. We got a poison debuff off, and he hasn't removed any debuffs. Now he removes debuffs and we're full HP, so we can swap and buff up. Oh my gosh, he's so low. We're gonna protect off on Lightning, which he immediately gets debuffed. Vigilance, haste, another protect, Wicked Roll, so we have to switch to Tortoise real quick. I don't know how Lightning lives. Does she live? She just barely lives. Oh my goodness. And he's still focusing Lightning as well, which is super good. We stay in Tortoise, so that way she takes less damage from that. And heal up. He's still focusing Lightning. This is actually perfect. This is the literal exact scenario that you want, where he's just focusing one character and like you don't get like accidental AoEs out. Oh, he's switched to Fang, and then he uses Wind Shear. Big AoE, so we have to swap to Salvation here and heal up. Oh my god, he's so low. We could roll again, so we swap to Tortoise. You can see he's getting multiple of these casts off in between Impenetrable Auras instead of just one. Okay, he's not dead with 34k HP! Dude, so tilted. Are you kidding me? He's literally one more tick. Poison ticks for just under 160,000, which means we are so... if we had just done like a little bit more damage earlier, he'd be dead right now. It's like so upsetting. But we're not dead. And if we're not dead, it means we can kill him. So we buff up. Luckily, we've got a lot of buffs rolling, and we just need to get a poison off. Dispel's going off from Fang. Wind Shear goes out. He does have an attack buff, which is super scary, but he doesn't have a faith up. We get the poison buff up, and immediately get Wicked World, and we don't die. I'm low. I'm saying screw it. We're popping a Renew. We're popping a Renew. If we can get a Renew off, we're not dead. If we can get a Renew off, we're not dead. Lightning is rezzed. Challenge from Fang, so he's going to go attack Fang. I'm next to him, which is not a good idea. Heal. As long as we're alive, we're not going to die. We can't die to anything right now, which is good. And he dies to poison. We did it. That's it. We did it. Mission 64 complete. Every monster in the game killed at Crystarium Stage 9. Can't... With like... Never leaving chapter 11. No, never going back to Cocoon. None of this Waygate stuff. I walked everywhere. I strategized everything. We killed it all. There's nothing that they made that we couldn't do at a lower Crystarium level. Sure, we had to use some cheeky tricks for some things, but at the end of the day, we did it. We conquered Final Fantasy 13, Platinum Trophy possible. At Crystarium Stage 9. I mean, what a playthrough. This was a lot of fun. I didn't know this was going to be possible, and then I did it, and yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And yeah. Hope you have fun playing through Final Fantasy 13. If you want to do a challenge run like this, I used a bunch of different resources. I'll link them down in the description below. It'll help you with finding out what you need to upgrade accessories or like EXP calculators and stuff like that. But yeah, I've got nothing else for you. That was it. We've beat every mob in the game at C9, stuck in chapter 11. Thank you. Have a good one.